Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Larry Woods, Democratic strategist, Steve Gill, Republican strategist. We're talking about Tennessee 18 politics with coming up with the Senate race, which is now an open Senate race because Bob Corker has decided not to seek re-election. Gentlemen, who are the leading candidates for this? Everybody wants to pick a front runner. You might think that would be Bill Haslam, the governor, if he gets in. But might it be co-front runners with Marsha Blackburn as well, the congressman? I
think so. And as we were talking just at the end of the last segment, if Bill Haslam runs, I think you will see Donald Trump play. Not only did Bill Haslam say he wasn't going to vote for the Republican nominee, Donald Trump, but you've seen his family weigh in against Donald Trump as well, even as early as this week.
He asked Trump to step down off the ticket at one point.
And if he didn't, he said, I will not vote for him. I'll write in another Republican. So I think there's real animosity towards Haslam. I think Marsha Blackburn, again, if she runs, will have a consolidation of support. But you've got Andy Ogles, the former state director of Americans for Prosperity, who's already in. Does he stay in? You've got folks like Stephen Fincher, former congressman from West Tennessee, who is talking about running, or at least exploring it. You've got a young guy out of Memphis, a Memphis city councilman, Worth Morgan, whose family is worth millions and millions, who would be probably early in his career to give a go, but he's looking at it. So I think it's open until those two major candidates, Haslam and Marsha, make a decision.
Larry, Blackburn versus Haslam, that would be two Republican longtime officials, public servants in this state, who come from very different wings of the party. Is this going to expose all the rifts and the cracks and the disagreements within? The Tennessee GOP has always looked kind of together. Maybe not so much?
Not so much anymore. Plus, my Democrat, whoever the nominee is going to be, they're going to be three or four running, at least three or four running that Democratic primary, are going to be happy to widen those cracks for them. So it's going to be a very hot and volatile election season.
Well, let's turn to the Democrats. There's already a candidate in the race, the Iraq War veteran James Mackler. Already at least one Democrat, Bob Corker, is rallying behind to stay with him, but there are lots of other Democrats who are looking at it. You think three or four, name some of the other people you think might jump in the race.
Yes, the mayor in Chattanooga, Andy Burke, is talking about it, considering it. At least a couple of people, Democrats in the state legislature, are talking about it and considering it.
Jeff Yarborough here in Nashville.
Yes, Jeff Yarborough, state senator.
But he has to give up his seat to do that.
I believe that's right.
He's up for re-election next year.
But of course, you know, there's such a small group of state senators who are Democratic. I'm not sure how important it is whether we've got one more or one less.
And it's a Democrat district.
Well,
yes.
Well, none of the people who are looking at the race, a lot of people have been none of the people that are the Democrats running for governor are thinking about it. They say no, they're going to stay where they are. Governor Breslin's been asked about it, and he said no, thank you very much. All these people who are saying no, who have maybe a little bit more experience in running, particularly Governor Haslam and Governor Bredesen running across the state. The fact that they're not running, isn't that a pretty good sign, Larry, that the Democrats in this big red state maybe really don't have much of a chance to play in this?
My Democrats have been hurting in statewide elections now for 15 years or thereabouts, and the pendulum swings, and with all the divisiveness in the Republican primary that Steve's forecasting, and I think he's right, that's clearly going to be a shot of adrenaline for the Democrats. Will it become a long-term trend favoring the Democrats? Yes.
But you'll need the Republicans to come out divided. For a generation,
the Democrats had the same fights the Republicans are now having, and eventually it wore us out. And, you know, there are always different reasons, but the same thing will happen again. Will it happen by next year? That's problematic, but it's coming.
Steve, what about Senator Mark Green? He's been looking to do something like this. He's been talked about in the Senate race, but is he more likely to look someplace else like Marsha Blackburn's seat?
I think if Marsha doesn't run, I think Mark will give another look at running for the U.S. Senate. But I think if Marsha, as expected, gets in the U.S. Senate race, I think you'll see Mark Green very quickly run for her 7th congressional district seat. And on Larry's thoughts, I think the Democrats will have a hard time. Again, Donald Trump carried 92 out of 95 counties, won counties that just a few short years ago were Democrat counties by 75 to 25, 85-15 in some of those rural Tennessee counties. So there's been a big conservative shift. How long it stays in place, whether the divisiveness matters, I think will play out.
But it's not just a conservative shift. Trump did so well here because he got the conservative vote and he got the outsider, we hate Washington vote. I shouldn't say we hate Washington, we're disgusted with Washington vote. A true outsider for the Democrats could capture that part of the Trump vote.
Except that the Democratic Party, my sense is in Tennessee has become, as you mentioned, the state Senate, there's only now 5 Democrats out of 33. All of the Democratic Party is now isolated to major urban centers. The Democratic caucus in both the House and almost the Senate is almost all an African-American caucus. So you don't have the beachheads in rural conservative Tennessee where Democrats have fared in the past. And you don't have the issues that are pushing in those areas.
But Mary Mancini, the Democratic State Party chair, is doing a great job of rebuilding. So behind the scenes and under the headlines, I think this shift is going on. Now, how quickly, again, I can't predict.
And Steve, using the Trump vote, he is such a unique kind of candidate. He may not necessarily be the bellwether of what will be the long-time vote for the Republicans in the state.
And it doesn't
transfer. In fact, he may show he may show the volatility because you may see a switch back if for some reason the public decides they don't like Trump or they don't like Washington and the Republicans.
Except that, again, you've got first of all, the question is whether any of his stuff can transfer. And we saw in Alabama that even him coming in for Luther Strange still saw the guy get beat by 10 points. I think the issues, though, that Trump ran on, build the wall, stop the flood of illegals coming into our country, stop the flood of refugees coming in. I think the issues that drove Trump will play well in Tennessee. And when you look at the polling, those issues are still strong, which, again, when you get back to a Marsha Blackburn, Bill Haslam race, Bill Haslam has been for tuition for illegals. Marsha Blackburn is against it. Bill Haslam's brother has supported kneeling during the national anthem. Marsha Blackburn is leading the fight against it. Bill Haslam was for expanding Obamacare, Common Core. There are major weaknesses policy-wise with him and where Tennesseans are.
Larry, it sounded like the campaign just started. Let's take a break. Larry Wood's our guest, Democratic strategist, Steve Gill, Republican strategist, back to talk more about 2018, particularly the U.S. Senate race. This looks like it's going to be quite a race. More after this break.